Oh my god. Uh, well, uh, if I'm not gonna ever say anything again, if I'm losing my voice, if I'm dying, one thing I want to make sure it happens is because I know that at the end they want me to identify with this manipulation. But my job is to do what they need to be experiencing. I will never, ever, ever identify with any of this manipulation that I'm forced to experience. I understand this is what they do, and I understand that what they do is rewire the brain. Now, let me just start with the beginning so I never lose perception of reality. I'm what you call a target individual. What it makes me means that I am a test subject, like so many others, that is forced to experience sexual stimulation and other things that are manipulated into me. I'm manipulated by the Department of Defense technology. Now, the reaction I experience is more than just sexual stimulation. There's all kind of reaction. But as a test subject in this program where they're utilizing DoD technology that can not only manipulate your brain, but manipulate your organs, your body in so many disgusting ways. That is what target individuals are. A lot of us actually deal with what you call V2K, synthetic telepathy, where they can pipe in voices and also manipulate your thought process, but also manipulate the reaction, the stimulation you experience. It is disturbing because it's like you are a test subject for cognitive warfare. The things that we experience is not what we experience mentally, even physically, but we also are surrounded by perps. People who are around you, people that will be around you, or people that are in your ecosystem to make you accept the manipulation they have. It's like a gaslighting method. So gaslighting is like when a group of individuals, maybe one individual, try to make you accept a falsified reality. Now, gaslighting is maybe something lightly said here because it's more than just gaslighting. We're talking about governmental entities. So they'll force you to have sexual or whatever other thoughts. Not only sexual, it's all kind of degrading thoughts or reactions, whatever they want you to experience. And then you have these perps around you that are meant to break you down into accepting these things. So they make noise campaign, they slam the door, they do. Sometimes what they do is like they make you experience something and they just go all quiet. And what I mean by all quiet, because the V2K is the interaction they have via this V2K technology, which they can pipe in voices into your brain. So usually they talk, they say things, they go through the scripts of all these things they try to use to make you accept this manipulation. They tell you how they're going to torture you, they're going to rob you, they're going to fry you, they're going to do this and that and that. But when they make you have this experience, they stop. It's like, we got you. And they make you experience something, and then for me what's been happening is they make me have sexual stimulation toward these babies. Like you see this girl right here, you can barely see this little girl. Initially I saw a little short person, like, oh my god, I looked away. And then I looked closer, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a little girl. And the thing is, with me what happens is like, oh, when this black little girl says real, we mapped it, it's you when you were a kid. Matter of fact, the reason why I show a picture over there of like a kid is because they're saying that they mapped me around the age of that kid, that my brain is now rewired around that time of my life. So that's what they do. Now, obviously, you can see that I'm not a child. You can hear me. You've seen my videos. Why would somebody try to create a reaction, a thought of you when you're a child? It makes no sense. And this is falsified because that's not what I experienced when I was a child. But they try to make me accept this. And they create these weird ways of like camouflaging some kind of reaction in your childhood, mix it up with what they make you experience today, and try to make you accept this manipulation. In every ways you look at it, it's just nonsensical. You are obviously rewiring my brain. And for you to even think that, making me believe that what you're doing is rewiring my brain as me as a child, it shows that this is a kind of intellect you have to have. I think this is why they like to use childlike minded people, even children. But the perps that you hear interacting with you, God, it's like they've watched a movie and believe, oh, as if I sound like that, it's gonna sound fierce. Oh, now you pay. And what this person say now you pay is trying to say is, when I was the age of that kid, I did something stupid as a kid. It's a middle schooler. That never happened to me again. Now, the very awkward part, the very sad part, the very disgusting part is as they try to vilify me in this way, talk about what a child did at that age, which they have to exaggerate, by the way, and never happened again, is that I not only know they manipulate the brain in these disgusting ways, which you're going to hear, I don't let them go into their fantasy. Because this person literally saying, now you pay, knows that I'm going to listen, and not only I'm going to listen, you're going to hear what they do to children. But on top of that, the fact that they rewire the brain in these pedophilia ways has been very much validated. At this point, it's not even trying to, it's over. It is so completed in regard of validating that I am being rewired and manipulated to experience this reaction, which they try to make me experience, make me believe that what they're doing, and that's what they call it, we're mapping. I think using that language makes it less, I guess, illogical. Because what they're saying is, we're just making you experience what you've experienced as a child. Now, what I just said sounds illogical. Why would you want an adult person think the way they think, like they thought when they were kids? Why? Are you saying that you made this man become mentally retarded? And I'm using that harsh vocabulary to make it clear. Are you making this adult person become a child? Is that what you're saying? Now, I say that on purpose in this fashion because I want them to see themselves for how stupid they have to make themselves be. It's not even that. They are even manipulating my childhood, because even as a child, even if I did whatever I did to myself as a child, that moment of a child, impulsive childlike moment, at the same age of the kid that you see over there, I never had this perception, this fashion, the stimulations or these sensations. They just try to camouflage it into my child, younger than this kid, by the way. Younger. And imagine somebody you're gonna hear what they do to kids, try to sound this mean way, I'm night pay, and they run away. They know what they run away. There was a time I didn't know what they were doing to children. I didn't know they torture children, so they would try to be more like, oh, now you pay, and they try to stay visible. Now they don't want to do that because not only I know they torture children, but they also rewire the brain in these pedophilia ways. You're gonna hear that. And by the way, you know how they're gonna make me pay? They're gonna say I've raped a child here. Or another thing they're gonna do, which is what they tell me, and they say that in a very fierce way, we're gonna download child porn and we're gonna implant it in your computer because we dared. You know what's so disgusting about them saying that? Not only that it's disgusting that you frame somebody by implanting child porn or even have a child say something like that, because it's disgusting not only for what you're doing to the person you're framing, but to the child. This is, you destroy that kid's life. Obviously, no child's going to grow up to be normal if they at one point in their life were guided to be saying things like that. I mean, I know that these people are supposed to be these childlike people, but this is talking about the life of this person that's a child too. But I have no sympathy for this child that they got guide. I just want to say that out loud so they understand that this is how much of a prophet I am. Which I'm being comical. Of course, I'm not a prophet. I just say the obvious things, that obviously making a child say something like that in regard of framing somebody cannot be good for the child. The child is not going to live a good life. And it's not daring. It's cowardly as it gets, especially because you're utilizing a child to say these kind of things. But I want them to live this life. And before I go through whatever I go through, I just want to make sure I sound like a prophet to them. Because they just trash human low life. And I'm a normal person who's not saying anything special. I'm just saying the things that really try to block out. But on top of that, what is so disgusting is how they say in this fierce way of trying to sound like we're gonna dare to we download child porn and implant that in your computer, and now you pay. This person is saying that is a contracted lowlife. Let me repeat that, a contracted bottom feeder for these governmental entities. Obviously, this technology that manipulates human beings in this fashion doesn't come from a loser like her. She's just implementing the tactics and find a way to trick her brain to make her believe that her doing it make it fierce. And so she's created these voices and ways to talk to me in a very cowardly way. I'm telling you, I've seen some of them people become so fierce in front of me, and me shaking my head, and them losing their balance is me just moving my head up and down or side by side, like shaking my head, and saw them lose balance in front of me, meaning that they couldn't walk straight. It's because the level of humiliating reality that they have to block her is just too much. So she's saying that she's going to plant child porn, but the governmental entities that contract this low life that she is. And by the way, I'm saying that contracting multiple times because they, to try to counter you from saying something, they say it before you. So these people who are contracted by governmental entities, by DOD entities, let me repeat that. These people are working under the governmental entities such as the DOD. They are not the one running the show. They're just bottom feeders. This is who you're going to see around your target individual. They're not the people in charge. They are implementing these tactics onto you. They are participating in this program. This person talking to me in this fierce way, tomorrow can die. I will know. Because what's going to happen to me is going to continue. Because this is a program that is global and that's run by governmental entities such as the DOD. Now, the Department of Defense, let me repeat that. The Department of Defense is truly the entity truly in charge of this. There can be other entities, but there's no other entity that has much more, the most influence than the DOD. When I look at these losers, I truly see them for what they are. They just feel the empowerment that they get because it is surreal, the ability of this governmental technology. This technology is rewiring my brain, and they have the ability to control a lot of what I'm experiencing. And not only what I experience in my thoughts, but they can make me say things sometimes. They can actually make me do little quick things here and there. And sometimes they can make me think that I decided to do something, but they're the one controlling me. I know what it means. So when I see these losers, and I call them losers because what kind of person will find strength and create this movie-like theatrical reality and find fierceness about saying, I dare to play child porn? It's somebody who's a loser. I'm telling you, there's no person who respect themselves who ever said these things and feel fierce about it. I'm telling you, this is the most degrading thing that you can do to yourself. On top of that, what makes it even more degrading is that the entities that run this program, like the DOD, have a trending issue of pedophilia that's come up over and over. For example, in 2019, there was a bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act. 2019, not too long ago. Not too long ago. In 2019, let me repeat, 2019. Let me just say that in August 19, 2019, that's when the synthetic therapy happened with me. The same year, in 2019, a bill was created called End National Defense Network Abuse Act. Because the year before that, there was a ranking that happened, a disturbing ranking. Child Protective Service, and let me say that calmly, Child Protective Service was ranking the networks plural of the United States based on the amount of child porn. Based on the amount of child porn. And the DOD, the Department of Defense was ranked 19th. Their network was ranked 19th out of 2,900 networks. Let me repeat that. Out of 2,900, the DoD network was ranked 19th, 19, making them a top tier network for child porn trafficking. Now, as I was saying that, they would say things like plural and things like that, because I think they said that earlier. Listen, everything I'm going to go through is orchestrated, and I'm okay if this is something they orchestrate me to do, because I know if they're spending their time orchestrating me making videos about how the entities running this program are 19th, 19 out of 2,900 for trafficking child porn, and they're calling daring to implant child porn on my computers, because I know the way they the way I'm being orchestrated is because they're working for these governmental entities that have this technology, that have the ability to control you, and them being contracted by those entities. Let me repeat that: contracted by this DoD entities that is ranked 19th out of 2,900, and they call it daring to implant child porn on somebody's computer. It just shows how self-degrading they are. They're not fierce, femme fatale, like the way they want to present themselves. Matter of fact, they torture a lot of women. A lot of women are being tortured. A lot. Matter of fact, I myself was on TI Day 2020 to say, listen, these people are torturing men, women, and children. I myself, I'm a victim of this program that torture men, women, and children all around the world. Then you heard women from Malaysia, from Korea, from whatever country in Europe, from Australia, from England, from New Zealand, from Chicago, from Baltimore, from Michigan, from Florida, from Louisiana, from Kansas, from California, saying they're being tortured and destroyed. So I know what they're truly involved in. And on top of that, I know that women are saying there's a lot of females involved in this program that does these things to us. So when they manipulate you to have this nasty reaction and still try to make themselves sound, oh, listen to me sounding such a feminist and femme fatale in this fierce way. The humiliating reality that I know that you do this to others, because you're going to hear the testimonies of women saying they do this pedophilia type of torture. Since that day, I've been using the same word. Since the day I heard that testimonial, I'll be calling what they do to me toward these kids the same thing, pedophilia type of torture. And then when you get the validation that, oh, by the way, they are rewiring the thought process in the brain. This is some kind of warfare, offensive information warfare, where we target individual are test subject. They're using us for that. To figure out what trickery, creating a matrix of what trickery and the deception is utilized that is working. One of the deceptive trickery for me is to create this facade that they're daring to be some femme fatale and be able to disgusting trash. When you're gonna hear this man Robert Dawkins say, oh, they have this thing where they make you believe that they're this and that and this, anything by this massive government doing this. By the way, this massive government that you know have problem with pedophilia, according to this 2019 bill, according to this ranking in 2018, that there's been an issue. And by the way, according to this BuzzFeed article that came out in 2022, late 2021, early 2022, I discovered, I think it came out in December 2021, so end of 2021. And so these reactions and stimulations have been validated that this is what they do. They are rewiring the thought, and they are implanting design, reaction, and emotion they want you to have. Now, why do I say the same thing over and over? Let's just say that if I get to see them, I just want them to make sure that you just heard me be able to articulate what I see you as. Please try to present yourself as a daring femme fatale after I just heard the ranking, after I just heard what EEG cloning and heterodyning does, after I just heard Robert Duncan describing this thought process being manipulated, after I heard Mariana talks about the pedophilia type of torture, after I heard Mariana talking about how they torture children, after I heard hearing what you do to Catherine Nestor and her young child, after I heard this woman saying there's a lot of females, after I heard Robert Duncan say, oh, some of these people think it's the next door neighbors doing that. After I can say this word, by the way, you're going to hear something. Actually, I don't even know if I'm going to put it. I don't think I need to. But Roy Moore. On top of that, another sprinkle on it. You, trash, who don't even want to look at me, who's looking at this window as if like you want to fly away. As if you want to get away from where I'm looking, look who's next to you, which is me. I'm looking at these people. They are so uncomfortable looking at me. Just look around. Just look away. Like they want to fly away. Like I don't want to be here right now because he's listening to this ranking from the Child Protective Services, ranking the entities we work for as top tier child porn traffickers. While I just said something about like being daring to implant child porn. I will never let them live their fantasy. As I'm saying that, I just heard this next door neighbors, which if I showed you what they look like, oh my gosh, you will be for sure know that these bottom feeders the government utilize to implement this EEG cloning, EEG heterodyning, which has the ability to rewire your thoughts. You know what they do? The most disgusting part? They design you to experience this experience, right? And then they look at their phone, right? As if, we just caught you. We just observed you. Experienced that. Oh, it's so you. Do you understand the level of gaslighting it is? Today, they don't want to do that as much because you know what's going to happen? I'm listening to like this individual saying, oh no, what they do is like they not only can capture your neural network, but they manipulate them and put it back in your head to make you experience this specific reaction. And then you have this clown trash dressed in PJs saying, not real, this is so fake. I've used pictures of some of this. Matter of fact, I just added this picture just to add to the perps. You see these people looking at their phone? Yeah, those people are supposed to make you believe, no, we're not manipulating you. We're not. We're observing. We're analyzing. That's why we have our best pajamas. For the analyzing purposes. Target individual. See who's living this bottom feeder life. Look at this low life. Would you want to trade places with these people as they force you to get these sexual stimulations and reactions that they can make you experience via this EEG cloning, EEG heterodyning, V2K, synthetic therapy technology coming from these top tier entities downloading so much child porn? Child Protective Services ranks them 19th out of 2,900. You know what they try to say now? Oh, nice. She was like, no, boo boo. You just made me somebody super dignified. You are here trying to make me accept these manipulations when I'm validated in ways that is so magical. It's now you. I look at you as a fucking low-life pedophile. Excuse my language, but these perps are just trash. Please find ways to counter this. Please. I heard a child in the hallway. They start giving me stimulations. And I'm supposed to be, you know what? This is not this EEG cloning. It's not this EEG or heterodyning. These people over there who look like kids in their pages are just observing and analyzing. And they're doing everything possible. Now you did this. And I was like, no, trash. You are involved in a program that is doing these horrible things. Now, I've made it clear that I know what they do to women. Just to finish up everything here, this program utilizes rape tactics very commonly, and this is what I want to finish up with. Just because they want to sometimes be like, no, we're doing that for this woman, you did this thing to this. I was like, no. Do you know why I'm so confident and strong on myself? Target individual, I almost killed myself at one point. At one point, I almost killed myself. I even got as far as buying sleeping pills and put a date. It's like, okay, that's the day I'm going to end up dying. The reason why I didn't do that, I didn't go through it, is because I started discovering testimonials of women speaking about what's happening to them. We're like, what? If this poor woman can go through this horrible thing for years, me, who just dealing with this for just a year, and I'm so broken down that I'm about to kill myself, and this woman is dealing with this for years, I refuse to be this weak. Listen, I'm going to try to do my best to stay up and fight and mentally stay strong. Because if they can do this to women, and these women are dealing for years, of a decade, some of them, me, in less than a year, killing myself, when I know it's not me. The reason why I was thinking about doing that is because I was seeing what they were doing. They were conditioning my brain. They really are training your brain to have reaction to children that's sexual. And you have trash like that in their pages. Nobody's. Very unimpressive human beings. Rewiring themselves too, to make themselves believe, oh, we're fierce, we're at war. Can you imagine dressed like them, calling yourself a warrior, or think that you're at war? No, obviously I know what this is. But it's so easy to do what they do. If you don't respect yourself, it's very easy. It's extremely easy. You just gotta minimize any self-respect. Because oh my gosh, me making these videos, I'm sure it doesn't make them feel any good about themselves. I don't care if they feel bad, but one thing is for sure, they don't feel like they're this femme fatale. They just, I am not trying to make them feel good or bad. I just don't want them to delude themselves. Feel good about knowing that you're trash. That's it. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm not wanting these people that you see there delude themselves that they're somehow some kind of warriors at war. Look at them. Do you think I can even let you escape in that world? When you're just a low-life coward, bottom feeder? I'm powerless because I'm a test subject that the government of the United States is using to develop this technology. That's why I'm powerless. You are a low-life who's powerless in regards to saying Roy Moore. I will never look at these people and be like, this is the reason why I'm dying. They're just losers. So, just to wrap this thing up, target individual, stay strong. I look at this kid over there, first case stimulation. They try to make me experience this sexual stimulation, make me think, no, we mapped it as you as a child. Right now, there's people in the hallways making noise campaign. They're supposed to make me think that then I should feel guilty. Listen to the humiliating reality. That they evolve in a program that have this technology that is literally rewiring thought process. Rewiring thought process. Somebody say her eyes and start stimulating me. And start making noise campaign. I'm so thankful I don't have to live this life. Please listen to how sad it is when you have this validation and you have perps that looks like this, what you see here, making noise campaign. I'd rather die outside. They live inside doing what they do here and to counter what you're gonna hear.
System. In order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head, to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Brains. And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
You might guess that this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities, rebuild.
And it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DoD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, relative to some of what you're hearing today, in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation. Of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I've submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
The V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this. Brains.
And so this gets into what's called there are four different techniques and technologies that can pipe voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
What is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the
tactic of belief systems into human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And
it is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting. first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons. I don't know. I don't.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the...
To see every night not repeated in this blog. Years of torture that I've taken, and all you are going to I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost. So I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS. So just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated...
But I was going to be shot in the face, and it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to be shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them? Basically, you know, they call me a retarded bitch.
Used. I mean,
if you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most. Orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
The Defense Department, she worked on the global mapping of that system. And when I told her what I was going through, all she could say was, "You're on your own." Well, I've figured that out. If you would please, I urge you to pass this. I realize you can't enforce it, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
Under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flickr, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben,
the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the personal electronic device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses, and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill,
or the things that they're dealing with on their computers.
well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office, you do not have the right to simply use the
In a statement, according to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018.
And a 6-year-old, he was simply fired.
Synthetic telepathy. They're following the handbook perfectly.
2-year-old and a 6-year-old, he was simply fired. One employee purchased sexually explicit videos of young girls filmed by their mothers. He resigned. One employee estimated that he had viewed up to 1,400 sexually abusive images of children while on agency assignments. Not sure what actions, if any, were taken by him. One contractor arranged for sex with an undercover FBI agent. I think that you mentioned that. Posing as a child, he had his contract revoked. One CIA staffer was charged with child sexual crimes, and the employee was also under investigation for mishandling classified material. But sexual crimes involving children, says BuzzFeed, including the viewing of images of abuse, have been uncovered at other agencies that handle sensitive information. In a November 2009 report, the Department of Defense acknowledged that dozens of Pentagon staff members or contractors had such images. In 2014, the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community found that 2 officials from the National Reconnaissance Office, which oversees America's spy satellites, acknowledged viewing images of child sexual abuse during polygraph examinations. This is so disturbing. At a symposium in 2016, Daniel Payne, a top Pentagon security official, said that when workers' computers were examined, the amount of child porn I see is just unbelievable. Is this something that is happening?
Why are so many pedophiles
allowed to be given top-level security clearance. Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you? Oh, that's the thing.
Sensitive secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them at high levels, across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Others also will pay.
And I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
we need this to stop.
Electronic harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
we need this to stop.
Electronic harassment, microwave torture.
I've been targeted for 9 years.
My name is Dr. John Hall. I'm a medical doctor from Texas. Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic. And they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, threatening to make me bite my hands, as they often do. One day, she had a large, severe bite mark on her arm. She has also grabbed her crotch, saying, "Ow," and this was used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one
and have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss, and cancer. Premature. He was born at 31 weeks. During her pregnancy with Dylan, we were being targeted more so than other times. At the delivery, there were weird men walking and waiting around the hospital. Right outside our delivery room window, there was a white cargo van parked with 2 suspicious men inside. They were there the entire labor, a delivery. Our son had to be transported to another hospital 45 minutes away. When arriving to the Toa hospital, those same men and van were present. 3 of my children have severe rashes that have not been explained by several doctors. These rashes have been present for several years at a time. If interested, I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured. Recently, I lost complete time. I exhibited the flashing lights my 9-year-old son did.
Of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body, and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch, and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
So, just wanted to finish up with this testimony of this woman's sexual torture. Now, you hear this noise. Hopefully, you can hear the noise campaign that's happening. And I'm glad that it's happening if it's being captured. I don't know if my microphone is capturing that, but I can. This isn't just a validation. You know, you're gonna hear target individuals talk about how they make this noise campaign to try to disorient you, because what you heard is the validations, and these perps are designed to create a disorienting environment where you don't see things for what they are. You clearly hear that these testimonials are specific to what I'm going through, and that this technology that's rewiring the thought process, manipulating the thought process in these disgusting ways. Now, the noise campaign, if this is being captured, and I'm not sure until I listen to this video or recording, what it's supposed to do is this person is supposed to make noise campaign like that when they make me think of the way, when they make me experience this manipulation, when I get stimulations that are manipulated, when I get thoughts that are being manipulated, when I have whatever is being manipulated in this falsified way, then this perp is supposed to make noise campaign to box in these falsified reactions, manipulations, stimulations, or thought process. However it goes, it's supposed to box in the manipulation. For example, right now, they just to make me think, oh, what you did as a kid, now you pay. You just literally heard the sexual torture of children as young as 4 years old and 3 years old and 5 years old and 7 years old. You heard a woman say, me and my young child are being used as... I mean, you've heard the horrible things. A 3-week-old baby being tortured. Right? And these people are like, no, now you pay. When you see who's talking to me, it's like these people like that in this picture. And so they box in this fantasy of how I should think. Not only today, they make me have this nasty reaction toward children. They stimulate me toward babies. And then try to make you accepting of that. You heard that happening to others. Then they're like, no, we mapped it to you as a child. And you see a child that they try to say that, no, it's around that age. Imagine that they made you, you're the soldier behind this person, this kid over there. And they're like, oh, you, the soldier over there, we are making your brain the age of that child that you're seeing in front of you. They're clowns. But obviously, they have this manipulation that are very pedophilia-centric. That's why I use the word pedophilia-centric or pedophilia type of torture. Because this is what they've done to others. This noise campaign is to try to make you accept this manipulation. It's to box in this retardation of logics that they try to make you identify to. And you have perps that look like these people in their pages try to make you accepting of this manipulation when you've been validated in every levels that these people not only manipulate the thought in these ways, but they torture us to even children. And the entities running this program, such as DARPA, that's been working on electromagnetic frequencies and see how they can alter the mind since the 60s. Since the 60s, called Pandora, Project Pandora, it's been something they've been working since the 60s. And today, I'm supposed to think that this is something but this massive government, as you heard that this is something they do. And by the way, there's a lot of female involved in the program that torture women. And you heard the sexual torture of these women. And then on top of that, those entities that have been working on this technology for years are being ranked for being top-tier child pornographic trafficking and accessing using the computers given to them by the TOD. The Department of Defense network was ranked 19th out of 2,900. And this trash I hear that you see here in their pages, like, we're gonna dare to implant child porn, we're gonna dare to say that you raped a child here. And it's our money. It's anything but this mass government. And then talk about you as a kid now that was abused when they involved in a program that literally tortured a 3-week-old baby. And you know the way they interact with me? You see the earlier video when this portion when this person said they pipe in voices so they can interact with you via V2K. The voices they create, or the voices they make themselves sound like, because I know these perps are just, I'm a perp like that. The tonality they utilize is like, let me just sound so fierce. It's like you die and you'll die. And you can imagine somebody like them over there making themselves sound a way to sound mistakeful when they're just clowns and low-life bottom feeders for these governmental entities with a problem with pedophilia. In a program where they even torture children. You even heard me say, this is impacting men, women, and children all around the world. These are the trash involved in that. And you heard the noise campaign. They're supposed to box in these ways of thinking. Everything around you, this whole ecosystem is meant to break you down. I make it these videos because I know there'll be a day when I will not be able to express myself. I'm thankful that I got the chance to do that before it's too late.